Welcome to part 3 of early Americans in Oceania. Now we're going to take a look at descendants of the Olmecs. Many cultures followed the Olmecs, including the Zapotec and the Nayarit and the Zappa, right? And all of them had archaeological sites and things that they built. But in Mesoamerica, the archaeological site that's probably truly the most impressive, just for sheer scale and number of monuments, has to be Teotihuacan, right? Teotihuacan is located just 30 miles northeast of Mexico City, and it's one of the most visited sites in Mexico, right? Teotihuacan is truly a gigantic city. It's 3.5 miles long. It's 2.5 miles wide. It contains more than 5,000 structures. It's estimated that around 500 CE, the city had a population of somewhere between 125,000 and 200,000 people, making it one of the biggest cities in the entire world at that time. Right? The city itself is laid out in a grid on a north, south, and east, west axis. It's dominated by two massive stone pyramids, today called the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. Right? The Pyramid of the Sun is 600 feet wide at its base. It's 200 feet tall. Matter of fact, its footprint is very similar to that of the Egyptian Great Pyramid for Cheops, right? Although the Pyramid of the Sun is considerably shorter, right? Now, both of these pyramids were originally topped with temples. Okay. Now, the main street, known as the Avenue of the Dead, connects those two monuments along with a third one known as the Temple of Quetzalcoatl. Right. Um, so you begin in the north with the Pyramid of the Moon, and then this road travels over a mile to the south, past the Pyramid of the Sun, into the Temple of Quetzalcoatl. Right. Within the larger complex, the Temple of Quetzalcoatl features 6 tiered step pyramids decorated with huge protruding stone heads. Half of these being the god Quetzalcoatl himself, the feathered serpent, and the other ones alternating with heads that are equipped with fangs and big bulging eyes that are perhaps the water god known as Tlaloc, right? The entire surface of the structure was originally painted in bright shades of blue and red and white and green, very vivid colors, right? The largest stone statue found in Mesoamerica is a 168-ton colossal traditional statue, traditionally thought to be Teotihuacan himself, right? And is often associated with Teotihuacan culture. Now, for years, that statue laid abandoned in the modern village of Coatlinchan, but today it stands outside the main entrance of the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City. Right. Um, the distinct architecture of these pyramids is a architectural style of there at Teotihuacan that's been labeled tableau tablero, right? Tableau tablero. This literally is a design that it's broken into two parts, just like the word itself. Each building starts with a layer that has a slope outward face known as a talud, T-A-L-U-D, a talud, right? And then on top of that is a straight vertical structure called a tablero, and then it continues with another talud and tablero, and then you got that step format, that formation continues all the way up until you get to the top where you would have some kind of temple typically, right? Judging by the surviving art and sculptures and other artifacts, Teotihuacan shared a lot of common elements with Mesoamerican civilizations that came before, like the Olmecs, and those that followed, like the Aztec. Right. Matter of fact, Teotihuacan gets its name from the Aztecs, who gave that site its name much later. We don't actually know the name of the people that built it. We don't really know who did, right? We know that sometime around this year 800 CE, the city appears to be abandoned, that it had reached its peak somewhere between the years 200 and 500 CE. But that's really it. There's a lot of different scholarship and opposing opinions on who actually built this stuff. Who were the city builders? Some link them all the way back to the remnants of the Olmec. Some link them to the Zapotec or the Mayans. Also, there's linkage to the Toltecs and the Totonacs and then the Hua, right? But honestly, when you take a look at it, you see the influences of Teotihuacan often have a mixture of all these different ethnic groups. So it's really difficult to tell who who was the actual builders of this massive city. Now, Mesoamerica also had its share of potters and distinctive pottery that gave it kind of a beautiful and entertaining ceramic vessels, right? One culture whose potters can be compared with the Mocha there in the south would be a region in the modern day Mexican state of Colima, and so it's often referred to as Colima pottery, right? From around 300 BCE to around 300 CE, these potters cast very distinctive pieces, often shaped in the form of animals. Um, they don't possess a complex spout arrangement like the Mokta do, but instead have a simple single opening spout on the top, or sometimes, like in the case, like in this particular one, the mouth of the vessel itself, right? Now, the most typical Colima style vessel is a shape of one of these plump little dogs here. This is a Xolo Itzcuintli, right? Um, it's a breed of small hairless dog, right? Um, these are kind of entertaining, fun sculptures. There's also a darker side to these sculptures. I mean, almost certainly their plumpness is due to the fact that many of these dogs, back when these sculptures were made, were being fattened up to be eaten by the cultures that lived there at the time. This is a common food that would often be consumed by them.